Hello, welcome to The New Economy, What's Next? My guest today is Robertson Diodone, CEO of Universal Impact, and today we're going to be talking about marketing and selling to the Haitian community in the Bahamas. So stay tuned.
One by one, employees from the tourism sector show up here at the National Insurance Board seeking financial assistance.
Wherever you roam, and admit that the waters around you have grown, except that soon you'll be drenched to the bone. If your time to you is worth saving, then you'd better start swimming or you'll sink like a stone, for the times they are a-changing. Come writers and critics who prophesize with your pen, and keep your eyes wide, the chance won't come again. And don't speak too soon, for the wheel's still in spin. There's no telling who that it's naming, for the loser now will be later to win, for the times they are a-changing.
Mr. Diodone, how are you doing, sir?
Good morning.
Glad you could make it on the show.
It's a long time we've been planning this.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
But why don't you start by telling us about Universal Impact as well as the companies and brands that you work with?
All right. Well, Universal Impact is a company incorporated, Universal Impact Limited, incorporated here in the Bahamas. It's fully Bahamian owned. However, I am going to say that I like to say it's a Bahamian of Haitian descent owned.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the CEO. My wife is the vice president of the company.
Mm-hmm.
She manages Anna's Fashion.
Mm-hmm.
But we started in 2002. But before Universal Impact, we were involved with Anna's Fashion as far back as 1992.
Mm-hmm.
So you could say 10 years later, Universal Impact actually marries Anna's Fashion. And from that merger, we were able to do a number of stores and different concepts. I rather say like the $20 shop, which is when we got up to 5 stores, Universal Discount Center,
Mm-hmm.
Image Makers Wholesalers, and so we always try to find concepts and put products behind, use those concepts that will actually move products, and vice versa, products that moves concepts. And we end up now we still always the mother of all the stores, Anna's Fashion, but we have now the Power of 10.
Power of 10. Yeah, it's interesting. Like there's a lot of nuance to the target market that you're targeting, correct? With the Haitian community living here. And if you're a business person out there looking to get into this space, there are things about it that you have to know and you have to get to. And the first is that you got to treat people like they're people. Right.
Let me just jump right into it.
Yeah.
One of the reasons is that when we look at marketing, let's look at radio marketing, which we're also under Universal Impact. We have Voix Diaspora, which is Voices of the People at Radio Guardian 96.9, where we have 8.5 hours of radio programming weekly, weeknights, Wednesday, Saturday, and Sundays, where we target that market in Creole. Now, sometimes we get a backlash. Why are we speaking Creole when the persons understand English? Well, the fact that you speak Creole, one, targets a sector of the market that doesn't understand English as well as you think they would, or they would even want to. However, also the mere fact that you're using their language to speak to them is showing that you're identifying with them.
That's right. And ultimately,
so it's twofold. One, you want them to clearly understand the delivery of your message, and two, you're connecting. You're connecting by speaking their language.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because so that's one of the things, like you're saying, show the persons that they actually mean something, recognizing your customer base.
Yeah, because ultimately, not all business people think this way, but The philosophy of business that I subscribe to is that you're here to help people and to bring value to people's lives, and it's without recognizing the dignity of your customer from the beginning. How are you gonna? You can't even get to the actual selling or the business
Right.
part. That's ground zero.
Right. So in our radio programs, we do news, nouvelle lacai, news from home. We do local news. We do international news. So we have our audience understanding what's happening at home, back home. We let them know definitely, because a lot of them do not listen to the regular news.
No, it's
So
not directed
we
towards them.
provide a recap of the regular news based on what's reported in the Guardian newspaper or on their during their news breaks. So we do recap, and sometimes you'd be surprised. The person's like, "Let me get into it." There, as you might know, there are persons who live here, and the hurricane will be 24 hours away, and they wouldn't even know.
Yeah. No.
So we've solved that problem years ago by being able to go on radio, not just on our programs, on other programs, and been called to do it, and communicate with that market, with that niche audience during the time of a crisis or an impending storm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we use. Go ahead.
So, Miss, not to cut you off, but why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself, and you've had a wonderful journey, and you could
Don't say had. I'm having.
having a journey to this point. That's what I mean.
Yeah, I've had a wonderful journey. In my reflection this morning, and as I do every morning, I have this thing where I don't step out of bed. I roll out of bed. I learned it from someone. So every morning I roll out of bed, so I make sure that I don't stand up. So I roll out of bed onto my knees, and the first thing I do is thank you for everything that has happened, that's happening, and that's about to happen. That's how I start my reflection every morning. Thank you for everything, God. And so I thank God for my journey. It has been very interesting. I've climbed a lot of mountains. I've slid down many mountains.
Yes.
I've been in many valleys, many holes.
I can imagine.
And it's all been part of who I am. And and I'm pretty sure I'll be sliding and slipping, and it'll all be part of who I will
climbing.
be and what I've claimed with God's grace. And and my journey basically started here in the Bahamas, being born here to two Haitian nationals, even though my mother was born in Cuba. She became a Haitian citizen, and then she moved to the Bahamas in the mid-50s. My father moved to the Bahamas in the early 50s. I was offered Bahamian citizenship back as far as 1972. We grew up as Bahamians of Haitian parents, not speaking Creole, right out Darling Lane, off East Street. Went to Our Ladies and halfway through the private school system before migrating to the United States. I was the last I was the 2 out of 7 who did not migrate. By 1978, 5 of my siblings were living in the United States. Myself and an older brother remained in the Bahamas. In 1978, by 78, I moved to the United States. Spent 8 appreciative, interesting years over there. Actually 9. I love the advantages. Never really loved the place. I learned to appreciate it. And in 87, I was happy to rush back to the Bahamas, leaving what most people describe as a life of opportunities. But I saw more opportunities here, so I moved back in 88 and 87. I tried to move an entire family back, and that worked for about 10 months, and it didn't work. Cultural differences. My American wife then decided it was not good for us, so she moved back quick. She moved back in less than a year. I stayed on. I've been here since then. But I realized there was some interesting things to deal with. It was not the country I had left 10 years ago. I had heard some changes, but now I was experiencing the changes, especially in terms of the treatment of Haitians and the treatment of Haitians even by Haitians. So that was clearly was a very problematic situation. I joined the Human Rights Association then, which interesting was Fred Mitchell and Fred Smith together.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried to have an impact then. And then one of the things I realized was that since I was then also now a Haitian or Haitian, I decided one of the changes that I could make was myself. Mm-hmm. That since I was classified, quote unquote, because being Dieudonné, that was definitely labeled as a Haitian, then I said, you know what? Let me improve the image of Haitians by just improving the personification of of myself. Mm-hmm. And so that was that wasn't a personal goal, to be Haitian and to do great things.
And to do business.
To be Haitian descent and to do great things. And however they want to put it, I am a Bahamian of Haitian descent, proud to be a Bahamian of Haitian descent. Mm-hmm. I've done many articles, I've pushed that on privately and publicly, repeatedly, in my prayers, in my devotion, in my motivational speeches to young Bahamians of Haitian descent, that yes, you could be a Bahamian of Haitian descent and excel. There's a number of persons who are doing it now. That's a whole nother show. And so I got involved in a number of businesses that involve empowering Haitians and targeting the market. And we're at, I would say, at ground zero, but on a scale from 1 to 10, the market has been penetrated probably in less than 1% in terms of not the consumers, but in terms of elevating I wouldn't say 1%, I'll say definitely less than 3% in terms of the benefits to that community as a result of their participation in the market.
We'll be right back after a short message from our sponsor. At ROACX, we understand that for businesses to grow, they need capital to hire staff, buy equipment, and fuel innovative ideas. We support this process by using technology, years of business acumen, and a world-class team to get business the investment they need to get to the next level. If you are a business owner and need between $100,000 and $3 million, contact us today. We will schedule a meeting over the phone or video chat. Get on the path to your dreams. ROACX. Dream bigger. Yeah. No, there's a lot of services that the community needs, and and they're functioning, participating, they're working in the society, they're doing honest work. So immigration issues aside, we're not in the business of immigration. We're in the business of business and helping the people that are in front of us, and so. What would you say are some of the if you're speaking to me, I don't know very much about the Haitian Bahamian community. All I know is that I see some customers that need help, and I think I can help them. What's probably the first thing you would say to me if you were advising me of where to start? How would I start?
Larry Sawyer, that most Haitians claim from Stardust, that he's Haitian. And the reason is because Jehovah's Witness, and I don't know if that is the reason, but I think some people say they are very business savvy. Mm-hmm. So he greeted, from 1968, he greeted every Haitian that walked in his business by saying, "Bonjour, madame." Just basically that. And it's ironic, if you try, in most cases, in a lot of cases, if you were to say 2 words in Creole to a Haitian, they would actually try to speak English. It is ironic. So, so he would say, bonjour, and they'd say, bonjour, and they would attempt to speak English. Of course, that's good for him because he spoke very little Creole. But he learned Creole. And so basically what he did was greeted them in Creole. He offered them something. And sometimes it was nothing more than candies candy in his out of his pocket, and he always wore a suit, and he would give them as they when they finished purchasing. Of course, he would actually reward them for coming into the store with some mints or some candies. And I think at the end it was a lot of mints. And I'm saying that to say that the fact that he actually went inside his jacket, gave them something that was his, and put it in their hands. They actually talked about this. This was as if it was the biggest discount.
Yeah.
The other thing he did was, if he didn't have something in the store, he would ask them, tell me about the product. He allowed them, he gave the power to them to educate himself on what they needed. He would do everything he can. By the time they walk back in that store the following week, he would tell them, I'll try to have it in a week. If he didn't have it, he said, I'm working on it. And he would get that product. The fact that that one person needed, it showed also what the other person's like-minded person in the community would have wanted that same product. That's how he built his business. So actually, they help him diversify on his products. So the one thing you do is actually talk to them, like you said. That's one of your speak. And people say, well, I don't speak Creole. Speak to them.
Yeah. You know, that's
even a non-verbal communication of smiling.
Yeah, it's amazing how little, you know, it truly is, we're getting down to the fundamentals of business. Just, you know, this is a person. Treat these people like they matter, and you know they will patronize your business. I mean, it's an easy market.
It's an easy market to captivate, but it's a hard market to hold.
Yeah, well, I mean, all markets. I would say all markets are like that. Yeah, especially nowadays with you know, especially considering you're competing with Amazon and people going away and things like that. You have to be able to. You can't replace. You have to lean into that human touch if you want to hold demographics, because you're not going to compete with Macy's on price. You're not going to compete with them on variety, but you can compete with them on, hey, I know Mr. Diodon. I need this. I don't really need to go to Miami today, but he can get that for me, and I'm happy paying the premium. So that's when people say don't compete on price. That's what they mean. It's the human element.
Yeah, and definitely service, familiarity, just the connecting with the person.
That's right.
That is big. Just the ability to connect with that person would have that person coming back.
Yeah, and then you grow from there. You
and the one is that if they find a good product, if they're satisfied with a product, they become your best form of marketing. It goes back to the traditional word of mouth. They will. And of course, if they find a bad product, they will also advertise for you.
Yeah, so well, I mean, it's a double-edged sword.
So they will definitely advertise for you. They will be your least expensive, most powerful means of marketing, is just by satisfying that one customer and another customer. And
wow.
So that's.
I mean, sometimes you got to come back to the beginning. You know, the beginning of just the. You know, we like to think, we could do this fancy marketing, this fancy things, but sometimes you just have to come back to the start, especially for new markets.
Right.
To shift a little bit, we've kind of been in lockdown for weeks now, in some form or another. How has that changed the way that you do business and directing it? Have you switched more into more of the mass marketing with, like you say, the radio that you're on the radio? Have you seen any changes?
Well, actually, the radio times have been reduced because our shows are in the evenings and weekends.
Okay.
We are unable to do our weekend shows. We're doing our Wednesday night shows via Zoom.
Okay.
So we've definitely been a shift. I've had to step up and get accustomed to the new norm. Mm-hmm. Which is good. In terms of products and also services, what we've done is under Universal Income, we also have WPS, we pick up and ship.
Okay.
And ship. So we're doing the importation of goods, We're not demanding that the person go online and do everything online. We're actually picking up the phone and talking to them in Creole, sending messages in Creole and letting them know that we can actually bring goods directly from the U.S., any part of the U.S., directly to their home in Nassau and clear it and deliver it. We can buy, ship, clear, and deliver their goods to them under a company we pick up and ship. So that's one thing that we're doing. It's an embryonic stage. We just build out the ecosystem for that business. What we also done is, I was almost born in a clothing store in 1963.
We'll be right back after a short message from our sponsor. Think direct ownership of the Bahamian pie isn't for you? Think again. At Arawak X, we believe in the ingenuity of the Bahamian people. These times are uncertain and unprecedented, but we know that in every crisis there is an opportunity to add value to people's lives. To this, we understand that new businesses will be formed and old ideas whose time has finally come will be realized. We see this in industries long been ignored by traditional financial services and by society at large, particularly in our digital businesses, agribusiness, fishing, manufacturing, and even new touristic ventures. Due to our present circumstances, these businesses have finally been brought to the forefront. Arawak X seeks to give your ideas and your participation a means of making your financial dreams a reality. We give businesses and investors tools needed to finance them. Business is a complicated thing, with many moving and changing parts that often require multidisciplinary teams to turn ideas into reality. While no one can truly say which businesses will make it and thrive and which will not, there are certain formulaic traits that successful businesses have. This is why we here at Arawak X place such a high emphasis on corporate governance and the structure it brings to give companies the best chance at growth and expansion. Arawak X operates a regulated and financially inclusive platform that combines modern technology with best practices and a world-class team to bring together businesses and investors at every level, allowing wider participation in ownership of companies. So here's how it works. Investors, both foreign and local, individual and institutional, can view offerings and directly invest into these companies. We have spent several years and invested greatly in our staff and technology processes. We are doing this by greatly expanding the ease of investment. In other words, people will be able to participate in promising new ventures for as little as $50. The ethos of our institution is that of financial inclusion. And in this spirit, we ourselves will be a publicly traded company. In these next few months, as we roll out our platform, know that we view ourselves as an integral part of a wider societal change, the change that brings ownership, opportunity to everyone. We are pleased to work with our partners in industry, government, civil society, and the people in making the Bahamas the best little nation on this planet. As a first step, we have put together a free online course, the Intelligent Bahamian Investor Masterclass, that will give you some of the basics to investing. This can be found at invest242.com. Arawak X, dream bigger.
Our family background is in clothing and somewhere in shipping also. My father was a merchant marine before settling, and my mother had owned clothing stores in the 60s. However, 20 years ago, I had persons knocking at my door saying, go into groceries. I got $150,000 financing, go into groceries. And I'm like, it's too much trouble. I don't know it. I didn't really want to do the learning curve of dealing with groceries. And so now I'm in the groceries. 20 years later, I wish I could find those persons. I'm knocking at people. I found some of them knocking at their doors, at least one of them. And I'm in the groceries now. So I do have a presence. This is Power of 10. Groceries is part of the Power of 10. So our new store is called Power of 10, and it's 10 different concepts under one roof. So people think Power of the 10 because I had the $20 shop, they say, "Oh, good, everything's $10." No, the power of 10 is the power of 10. So
no, that
it's 10.
$10 doesn't go as far as it used to.
Right. 10 different concepts under one roof. And groceries is one of the concepts.
Okay.
So we're selling groceries, and even under groceries, we'll probably have 10 different major departments. It's a small in size in terms of square footage, but big in terms of impact. Because we'll be eventually bringing groceries for wholesale and retail out of Haiti and out of other parts of the Caribbean.
Wonderful.
That's merging a lot of different ideas together. We pick up and ship. We'll bring in the groceries. Universal Impact Marketing will market the whole the products, and they'll be sold at the power of 10, wholesale and retail.
Yeah.
So
let's dive a little bit deeper into that, because that's a fascinating thing that we don't really think about when we. Most people don't think about bringing things in from the rest of the Caribbean. They just kind of think of it as, you go to Florida, you bring stuff in from Florida, and that's it. It's there's a ton of opportunity in sourcing goods and services from outside in the rest of the Caribbean.
Yeah, most definitely. The idea of importing goods from the Caribbean, and specifically Haiti, is entrenched in me because my father was a merchant marine who brought goods from Haiti in the late 40s, early 50s, brought it through Inagua into Nassau, with persons waiting literally on the dock for these products. Okay, that was ordered 3-4 weeks ahead, and sometimes ordered and paid for. He would then move on to Florida, purchase goods, go to Cuba, and back into Haiti, and continue that circle again. So these are the stories I grew up hearing. Between my first 7 years, my uncle was actually the one responsible for these boats, and there was not just one that travels from Haiti to the Bahamas to Florida to Cuba back to Haiti, bringing in limes and products, mostly agricultural products and straw goods. Food products from Haiti, it's an amazing opportunity. And let me give you a little quick backdrop. We looked at souvenirs from '92, and we saw that products could be produced in Haiti as cheap as they could be produced in China, with 1/4 or 1/3 of the delivery time, better or competitive quality.
Yeah, and I think if you think of that, there was a very interesting point you said about the labor costs being comparable to China. So if you I'm sure someone listening is their minds are spinning of how they can tap into that market. But like everything, and with every people, you have to have people on the ground that understand the culture and understand the customer. If you're going to sell to them, if you're going to market, if you're going to use it, it's not just as simple as picking up the phone and saying, I want to do this. You have to find experts in this space to target it. And this
timing is, I think it's a golden opportunity now. I think it's
there's definitely a great opportunity there.
Now, with close proximity of Haiti, access to the market, it's just so much. It's so much. In 1997, neon signs were being produced in Haiti.
Yeah. So there's definitely great potential. Well, thank you for coming on the show. I certainly learned a ton. I hope my guests learned a ton, and I'm sure this won't be the last time you'll be on my show.
The pleasure is mine, and I hope I get another opportunity for us to explain, for us to show how persons can make money through micro lending, and how they can make money through just offering administration of goods. So it's a lot. The market, it's a lot. There's a lot of opportunities there.
Thank you. So that was Mr. Robertson Diodun from Universal Impact. We'll see you next time.
I look outside my window and nothing seems the same. I hear their voices howling, and I feel the winds of change. Every generation has a challenge they must face.